New Brunswick made some changes in the New Brunswick skilled worker stream. New Brunswick had done now is that they divided the NB skilled worker stream into 3 different subcategories, and these are the international graduate, the other one is the occupations in demand, the experience pathway. The occupations in demand is currently on pause. The government is not accepting any application on that particular pathway, but the other 2 are absolutely open as I record this video. Aside from dividing the NB skilled worker into 3 subcategories, the province also implemented that 18 NOCs are no longer eligible for expression of interest and therefore no longer eligible to apply for PR. And 18 is not necessarily bad because there are 30,000 different job titles under NOCs, and these 30,000 are grouped into about 500 groups. So really, 18 is not so bad. By the way, guys, if you have been applying for PR eligible jobs and you have not landed any interview, you have not received any interview request from any of the jobs that you have applied for, or you're not even sure if the job that you applied for has got a plausible PR pathway, then you have got to visit questjobs.io. With questjobs.io, we accumulate jobs, we categorize them, we tag them on who are the eligible applicants on certain PR pathways. Therefore, if you land that job, you are eligible to apply for the tagged PR pathway. We have also done an AI job matching, CV analyzer, and customization of your CV for every single job listing that you will apply for. And the purpose of that is to increase your chances of being noticed by the hiring company. We have had successful subscribers who landed the job via Quest Jobs, and we do have some subscribers who landed various interviews within weeks after subscribing at Quest Jobs. Since the occupations in demand is currently on pause, I will not tackle this pathway. I will focus on the other 2 sub-pathways, which are the international graduate pathway and the experience pathway. Now, the international graduate pathway, I have essentially tackled this many times before, but this time, the government of New Brunswick introduced some new restrictions, some new eligibility. So the first eligibility is that, of course, this is dedicated to all students who studied in New Brunswick in a PGWP program and in a DLI school. The international graduate pathway does not have any tier restrictions, no job title restrictions, except for the 18 NOCs that are not eligible. One of the new regulations that the government has implemented with this new pathway is that a job offer that the student must come from an eligible NB employer, which is in the past the same, but the company must be registered under the Registry of Employers of Foreign Workers. This eligibility requirement is absolutely new. I made some research, I sent some emails, and I made some calls on the various departments of New Brunswick to see if there is any list that I could get, which are the list of companies that are eligible or registered under this registry. And the Department of Social Development said that they don't necessarily have a list available to the public, and therefore that's the tricky part. How do you actually know if a company is registered under this foreign worker registry? And what the person that I spoke with, I actually spoke to a person in the social development, and what they said is that it's not hard at all to be registered. It will only take 10 minutes. The person in the social development department will walk through with the employer on how to be registered, and it's actually for free. They do not have, or the company does not have to pay anything. And therefore, if a company in New Brunswick wants to hire you, this part here will not stop them from hiring you as their worker. And so to those who did not study in New Brunswick, you do have an option still, which is the experience pathway. The experience pathway eligibility requirements are almost the same as compared to the international graduate. The international graduate does not have any tier restrictions, doesn't have any settlement funds. You should have been living in New Brunswick for the last 6 months, and you should have the intention to live in New Brunswick permanently. Those are pretty much the same as international graduate. Now, the main difference really is that with the experience pathway, you should have been working for your sponsored company for at least 6 months. And only after completing the 6 months, then that's the time that you will be allowed to create your expression of interest to the government of New Brunswick. With the international graduate, it's not required. They do not need to finish 6 months. The only requirement is that they have to have a job offer, and that's it. And of course, they should have studied in New Brunswick, and therefore that's a little bit more lenient. But with the experience pathway, you have to finish 6 months of working with a company, and then that will allow you to apply for expression of interest. How do you apply for PR under the PNP of New Brunswick? And the process is pretty much the same with this too, and I can only imagine it will be the same with the occupation in demand. And the first step is for you to have a job offer from a company in New Brunswick. The second one is that if you're an international graduate, you do not need 6 months of experience. You can apply for expression of interest immediately. But if you are not an international graduate inside New Brunswick, then you need 6 months of experience with your company. Once you surpass your second stage, then your third stage is for you to create your expression of interest. Once you create your expression of interest, then the government of New Brunswick will analyze and assess your application. They will ask you for certain documents, perhaps new additional documents, or perhaps most updated document that had been submitted, and you will have to definitely be on your toes. Always check your account, always check your emails for any single notification for your expression of interest, because the seats can go pretty fast. It will go very, very fast due to the limited allocation of PR. Once the government of New Brunswick is happy with all your documents, that's the time that they will provide you with an ITA or invitation to apply for permanent residency. The moment you have the ITA, then the federal level kicks in. The federal level is the part where you will actually apply for your PR. The government or the IRCC will then ask you for certain additional documents or most updated documents, and you definitely have to be again on your toes to always respond quickly whenever they require anything. The moment that the IRCC is happy with your documents, that's the time that they will issue you a COP or Certificate of Permanent Residency. And the moment you have this, you have to connect with the government and tell them that you have received your COPR, thereby advising them that you had been successful with your process of PR application, and voila, you are a permanent resident of Canada. And one of the things that I definitely always say is that you have to stay at least 2 years, if not permanently, in New Brunswick before you move, because if you do not, then you might experience problems with your citizenship application. You don't necessarily have to live in New Brunswick or whichever province that nominated you forever. It's not necessarily the case, especially if you are PR, because you have the authority to move, but you have to respect that the province sponsored you for PR, and therefore you have the responsibility to stay in that province for the very, very least 2 years. And then if you really want to leave that province, then you may, because you have respected at least 2 years of your stay in your sponsor province.